Welcome. I'm Venessa Rodriguez, Akashic channel, intuitive guide, and clinically trained healer devoted to helping you to remember your gifts, to reclaim your medicine, and walk your sovereign path as a healer. Today, I want to bring forth the energies of this season, the Libra season that we have just entered with our recent Libra Equinox, and a special Akashic channeling that came through that I would love to share today. We just moved through the Virgo solar eclipse and now have moved through the threshold of the Libra Equinox, one of the great turning points of the year. The equinoxes are those days where we have equal day and night. There's an equal light and dark. And in the Northern Hemisphere, we are experiencing this as the nature of shedding, as I'm even watching the trees outside my window begin to release. But there's this dance, right? There's this essence of this limbo space because we're not quite in the winter. We're not quite in the full release. We are in the releasing. We are in the active shedding and descent into the season of compost of death. And in the Southern Hemisphere, we are experiencing a season of rebirth and of blossoming. So this is a collective moment of balancing, which is what Libra is all about. The equinox is also a time when the veil is thinner. The planetary grids shift into higher harmony, and the healing presence of nature is almost louder. It's open and accessible to us. Not that it never is, but in these liminal spaces like the Libra equinox, we can experience the palpable essence of nature more readily. Libra is all about balance and beauty, harmony, relationships, relational dynamics, the self in the mirror of the other, the scales that we weigh our heart upon. Libra is ruled by the planet Venus, and Venus as Libra's ruler is all about love and beauty and harmony and the juiciness and good things of life that we all love. She's one of our great benefics, and Venus is ruling the show with Libra. But there's something here also that can come up in terms of the shadow tendencies of Libra, and that is the potential to lose oneself to the other, an effort to please, indecision, inability to attune to what you want because you want to please others or be fair. So there can be an essence of muddiness and even that liminal space between, and being able to see all sides, but a challenge to perhaps make a decision or move forward. This equinox invites us to balance not only our outer lives, our lived experience in this reality, but our inner frequency. What's being harmonized within us that's showing up in our relationships and our collective patterns. So when we attune to this season, there is something that's really important here in relation to looking at the outside world as a mirror and a reflection of what is ready to be released within us. We moved through a couple of powerful eclipses just before this Libra equinox, almost as if we were preparing, the universe is preparing us and releasing and shaping as we were brought forth to this portal that is this equinox shift. And it's preparing us just as we prepare for death, for kinds of death in our life. And one of the things that is very clear is that in the modern Western world, we have forgotten how to die, or at least prepare to die. Now, of course, you could say, Venessa, how can we forget or don't know how to die? That's just something that happens. And I would actually say that there are ways of being with the dying experience, whether it's a physical death or a death of something that is within your own life, or an experience or a belief or an identity, a way of being. There are ways of doulaing ourselves or being held by others who can doula us through the death process that is healing in itself and allows us to move through that transformation portal and shift in a really powerful way that is ultimately supportive for our evolution and becoming, rather than fighting and resisting and fearing all that may come with death that's based on our perception or belief system. So with that, I would love to share the Akashic channeling that came through me, and then touch on the specific points that came through, and we'll bring it all together at the end with a beautiful oracle reading that it really just brings it all together. So with that, let me go ahead and share our Akashic channeling. In all her glory, she resides in the depths of one's heart. The mother codes, the lighting up of sentience, the sentience that is ancient and wise, that crosses worlds and what we call dimensions. There are no barriers when it comes to this sentience. What we mean by this sentience is the luminosity, the light that is your true nature, that holds the codes of the entire cosmos in each one of your strands of DNA, in each cell, in each organ, in your blood, flowing like the streams of a great landscape that converge together in the river, into the ocean of everything. This is the unity from which you are birthed and are always a part of. This is Great Mother, Great Birther. It is this luminosity that we would like to behold today. In the light of God, you shine. Rolling hills of light and sound, like the curves of her body, undulating with breath and movement, the pulsation of the vortex that is within the heart. When we think of the cradle of civilization, this, yes, a term for what we perceive to be the beginning of civilization on Earth, according to his story, that is positioned somewhere in the Middle East. And isn't it curious that this is a physical point of so much contention, strife, bloodshed, sacrifice, and fear? The true cradle was the one at the bosom of the cosmic mother, birthing her children from the life-giving source of creation. To know thyself is to come home, your true home, and to remember the sanctity of this cradle, of this bosom that nurtured you once you came to be. Change is afoot once again. Change in the seasons, change in the environment, change in your felt experience, change on an astrological level, change at the level of consciousness. If we attune to Venus, a higher octave of Earth, the expression of love, beauty, harmony, the codes held of the divine feminine, and cosmic mother of truth, of divine love. She spins her web like the mother spider, casting each string with care, weaving the web of unity so that you have a place to land. Through the Western astrological perspective, she is weaving in the sign of Virgo, the priestess, healer, the dutiful one in service, the earth oracle, precision, scrutiny, detail, conviction, service. While it is said that Venus is in fall in Virgo, it is more accurate to say she is contained. This containment acts as creative constraint, diligently tending to the micro movements and frequencies that typically go unseen, overlooked in this containment. She sweeps the room clean, addressing each corner, every dusty surface, nook and cranny, neglected places, preparing the space and the way for her own fullness, come the beginning of the new year. It is on the earthly realm where she is doing her bidding in this time, working her rays into the core of the earth, the core of your body and being, for you are the earth body, a walking fractal of her blueprint. What feels like letting go is simply rearrangement, reordering of the field, shifting reality in one's experience of it. Each turning of a season, equinox and solstice, is a chiming of a tone akin to hitting a tuning fork. This shift in tone reverberates, moving energy within and without. The Lightbearers are here to show the way forward, the way through, the way beyond, the heaviness, the darkness. And as they awaken, like nodes upon a grid, one by one the field rises and sways, dances, undulating like the hills of her body, remembering the dance of the Great Mother, awakening one from the deep slumber. The tone will be felt in the upper chakras, the heart, throat, third eye, crown, and just above the head. Like strings on a sheet of music, or the neck of a well-played guitar, sounding together in harmony, notes never played before. To your surprise and delight, it requires faith above all. Above trust, above desire, it is faith that brings you to a place of sweet surrender, to allow the truth, unfiltered, holy and benevolent, to move through you. Through faith, your wings will spread and help you to rise up above the discordant frequencies, toxicity, the muck, and into suspension between what was and what will be beyond. This is what we call true presence. It is not so much a state of awareness as it is a place where your whole self, your full consciousness, is sounding the same tone, focused, coherent, in union. Without effort, without striving, you will find yourself there. And when you do, you will hear your note, your frequency amidst the others. Like attuning to a single instrument in symphony of sounds, this act expands your sense of self within the whole, the one in the oneness. And all that is not truth simply falls away. This is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself in this time, allowing the unique energy of this season to carry you there. Highest of the high, lowest of the low, we sound as we did before. The greatness within you at your core, reveals a truth, a kernel of light that when ripe emerges and converges as the harmonized tone, a part of the great song of life. She is within you since the beginning until the end, holding your hand, whispering in your ear for you to hear the sweet notes of a mother's love. Open your ears. Listen to her song as she sings you awake in her cradle and loving embrace. With these readings, over the years, I have found that it is best not to pick too much at it. And each person is going to have their own felt experience with it, and it'll land and awaken or resonate with certain aspects within yourself. So I don't ever want what I bring forth to be prescriptive or to be the truth of what this message is really bringing forth. But I did want to highlight some of the elements and imagery that came forward. First is the mother energy, divine mother energy, mother codes, and cosmic cradle. The true cradle that is not the human history that we have been told, but the bosom of the great mother. And that we actually have access to that at any time. And we forget. And some of the things that I see, even within my own community of supporting other healers and practitioners that in their own right have done so much of the deep, deep shadow and inner work, is that no one can escape that collective core experience of separation that we all experience in our incarnation because of the great forgetting when we come here and are birthed into this world, into this particular life. And that we all have that inner longing for connecting with and being held by the divine, especially in a loving, motherly embrace. And so a lot of our experiences in this particular time, looking around the world, and a lot of the shadows and darkness and atrocities that are being experienced across the globe, so much of that is mother wounds, wounds around the child and mother, and that the trauma, the collective trauma on all different levels within that dynamic and dyad, if you will. The other piece that I would like to bring forward is this luminosity through the sentience, and highlighting how it's already within us, it's within our DNA, this unity and divine light encoded in every cell. The other piece here is one that we already have an experience with throughout our lives, but especially right now, is that change. It's the seasonal and planetary change, a sense of an actual experience of rearrangement of reality and reordering, and the tuning fork being struck as a particular frequency that we are experiencing or writing, or that we can attune to. And lastly, I'd love to really highlight the importance of, and what I interpreted as an invitation for us to double down on faith and presence. And I think that both of those they get tossed around a lot, especially in, communities where there's a lot of personal development, people who are meditating already, in spiritual circles, that, well, yeah, of course, faith and presence, but it's different. There's a big difference between like knowing cognitively, having this as sort of a mental exercise, and actually centering faith and presence as the work. And rather than looking outside of ourselves for answers or to escape, resisting particular emotions, thoughts, experiences, what we are being invited to do is to step into faith as the gateway to coherence, and presence as the pathway of resonance. That those are the portals. That is the work. And it's not easy. It sounds easy and almost too simplistic. But the more that we can anchor into our now and our present moment, and through that, working with our nervous system, our breath, our body, somatic experience, it is through that full presence that we then have access to all that we are seeking externally. It is all there. And fortification comes through that, because there's a process of purification that happens and discernment when we get present, when we get fully present, because then you begin to know what is you and what is not you. You get to get a sense of where your energies are. Where is your power? Where are your thoughts? Where's the currency of your attention? And when you can bring all of that in and cultivate that as a practice, a daily practice, and not just sitting in the corner meditating for 2 hours, but how can you bring that into your day-to-day experience, moment to moment? That is the portal to your truth, to your peace, and to that divine connection that so many are seeking in these times of darkness. So this equinox is about harmony, harmonizing with the Great Mother's song, not striving to create balance artificially or based off of what we might believe through our belief system, but true harmony. Now, Venus in Virgo offers this creative constraint that was brought forth in the channeling, clearing and sweeping up the cobwebs, which ironically, she's also the mother spider that is reweaving. So it's preparing the altar for new cycles. And faith above effort, this power of surrender and resonance, that it's not about efforting or escaping. And your frequency matters. Attuning to your particular note in this greater collective song and symphony is the gift. It is the gift of the season and beyond. I'd like to now share an oracle card that came through. I pulled this yesterday, and it was one of those moments that it just flew out of the deck. And I am pulling this from Ariel Spilsbury, 13 Moon Oracle, right there. And we got harmony, harmonize, the oracle for the sacred tool of the light shield, mandala, harmonize. Now, I'll just read really briefly some parts from here. But of course, this is so perfect for Libra equinox in season, right? Keynotes are to pattern, to center, to make congruent, to manifest, and to structure. Drawing this card is a call to harmony. Whatever is presently dissonant in your life is being invited into the harmonizing effects of inward reflection and focus. Filter your query through the lens of harmonious relationship. What in your life is asking for that gift? Congruity is the harmony of parts with the whole. You may have become caught up in focusing on some aspect of your relationship or work without paying attention to how your choices harmonize with the mandala of your life as a whole. Explore how and around what your life is presently being structured. And so there's some beautiful calls to action within this reading and this oracle message that is connecting with the earth, earthing, walking barefoot, connecting with nature, that is super perfect for this Libra equinox. And this essence is a call to harmony wherever you are feeling and experiencing discordant energy and that dissonance. So what that requires, though, first and foremost, is presence and attunement to witness what is out of sync, what is out of harmony, and aligning those parts of your life with the entire mandala. So this card is such a beautiful confirmation of the mother's message. Faith, coherence, presence, harmonizing with the grid of life. These are the big invitations and energies available for us in this season. And I encourage you to try them on and see what awakens within you when you can spend some time in nature, even if it's a short walk. And also allowing yourself the space for that presence and reflection of where is there dissonance in my life? What is asking for harmony? You can even sit quietly, hum, tone, notice your song, your frequency, what wants to come through in this time, and imagine it blending with the larger life song, with the larger song of your life. I would love to hear your reflections, how this is landing for you. This equinox is a beautiful portal and threshold that we have just walked through that is asking you to root into faith, presence, and harmony. And those are the keys to the mother codes, singing us awake. Thank you for tuning in. May this season bring you so much beauty, love, joy, harmony, and usher you into resonance with your truest note, harmonized with the great song of creation and Divine Mother. Until next time, be well.